Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a great week. Today is February 3, 2023, and this is your Friday planning video. Today I want to take a few minutes and take the other side of a topic that I've recently talked a lot about on these planning videos, Secure Act 2.0. I've been talking to you about all kinds of ways to use the new provisions and even some that are still coming in the years to come. Today I want to call this Thoughts that the Secure Act 2.0 may be a bit overhyped. If it is, I'm partly to blame. I think I've been talking about it for about 2 years. While it may seem harsh to be so critical, I want to explain why this game-changing legislation may not be great for everyone. Please recall that I do not give personal tax advice, and the information I'm going to discuss here may get into some more complex ideas that we should discuss with your tax advisor. Ever since the first Secure Act passed in 2019, feel free to send me the answer if you remember what SECURE stands for. Remember, it was a Washington bill, so it always stands for something. Ever since that bill passed, I've been talking about the major changes that it brought about. Yes, it raised the RMD age, but 2.0 raised it again. One of the most important changes for planning, in my opinion, was the elimination of the stretch IRA and the introduction of the 10-year rule. A quick reminder, the old way is gone, so no need to go into that. The new law is if you are a non-spouse inheriting an IRA from a parent, for example, you'll be required to take every dollar out of that IRA before the last calendar day of the 10th year after the death of the previous owner. Again, it's not important to know what the law used to be, but suffice it to say that this tax-deferred money was not required to come out in such a short period of time before this. I want to explain why this has brought a huge tax time bomb to so many people with inherited IRAs. In traditional IRAs, that money that's in that account has not yet been taxed. When it is taken out, for example, in the form of required minimum distribution or a part of that 10-year plan, it will be taxed as ordinary income. It's easy to think this one through. If you're a non-spouse and you inherit $1 million IRA, if you break up the distributions into equal parts and there's no growth in the money for illustration purposes, you'll have an additional $100,000 in taxable income annually to pay taxes on. This is a big deal. I can tell you that financial planning and the tax planning communities have been hard at work since 2019 to come up with some ideas on how to best plan for this. There are a few things that we're doing, but they need to be discussed in depth, so they're a bit beyond the scope of this video. On the other hand, before the inheritance happens, I want to talk about how the Secure Act 2.0 provides a way to make this problem worse, not better. As I mentioned before, yes, you heard me right, worse, not better. As I mentioned before, the required minimum distribution age was raised in 2019, then again in 2022, first from 70.5 to 72, and now to 73. It's also set to go to 75 in year 2033. Now, common wisdom was to hold off and wait as long as you can. That's still right for some people, but for an increasing group, it is time to think of this another way. If the government keeps raising the RMD age, this can direct people the wrong way in many cases. Good news though, RMD age is only the time you must start taking distributions from your IRA. You can start earlier. Recall that every dollar that comes out of traditional IRAs is going to be taxed as ordinary income. I want to put out there that there is a growing school of thought that it may be more prudent to address that IRA tax time bomb earlier than later. These actions include taking distributions even before RMD is required to begin to move the money from a tax-deferred growth that will grow the ordinary income taxable money and moving it to a regular taxable account where the money will grow with capital gains and losses for tax liability. As of now, at least in most cases, those tax rates are still lower. This technique does require taxes being paid now when you take the money out, but the ordinary income tax is still the higher of the two, and if you can move the growth to the capital gain side, it may work better for you. In addition, you can and maybe should use the time before the RMD to convert the traditional IRA money to Roth IRAs. This may even be a better plan as it will move the money from an ordinary income tax liability to a tax-free growth account. This will also trigger ordinary income taxes at the time of conversion, and that tax should be paid for money that is not in that IRA. But it will now be in the Roth IRA, and Roth money, when distributed, as long as you meet the rules, will come out tax-free. One other thought on paying the taxes before the inheritance happens or in the earlier years of the 10-year rule is that in general, although we do all that we can to mitigate taxes, they are still historically low. And without being political, with the national debt where it is, I imagine tax increases will come along at some point. Finally, I want to add a clarification to Secure 2.0 that had to come after the fact from the IRS. I know, it's shocking that the IRS code was confusing. In the case of the IRA that you inherit from a non-spouse, as we're talking about, if the previous owner of the IRA had already started the RMD, you cannot stop that faucet. RMDs must continue, even though all of the money must come out before the end of year 10. This is a big one, and it may change, but for now, they did issue relief for those that were supposed to take RMD in 2021 and 22 and did not due to the confusion. But note, this is something you should discuss with your accountant immediately. Okay, overhyped or not, Secure Act and Secure Act 2.0 will provide for some very interesting planning opportunities. We should meet with your tax advisor and get a strategy in place. The planning community, that's me and the colleagues of mine, are hard at work doing all we can to provide advice on how to best use these new rules to give you the best after-tax return on your investment, whether they are your hard-earned dollars or those of your loved ones. When we meet, let's talk about how this planning can play a part in your overall financial plans. We'll bring the tax team in, and we'll get some strategies in place. I'll keep you informed on this and so much more that's available for you with the Friday planning videos, and come back for Monday for the Monday market updates. This year is off to a pretty amazing start, and we're just getting going. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.